at Google, welcome back to my channel. So I had a good day today. I've been working at the New Forest show for my company, which was really good fun. I had a chance to pop into the flower store, which was next door, which was really useful because I got to bump into Roger Frampton. He's got a channel, his Orchid channel on there. It just so happens that the flower store is right next to my stall, so I got a chance to pop round there and see him and have a chat with him. He's a really passionate guy, very easy to talk to. He's got a wealth of knowledge. If you haven't already checked out his channel, please do. I dropped off one of my little Restreepia divisions that I made to him, just as a little present. He was actually the first person to do any commenting on my channel, so I thought I'd drop him off a sort of a thank you token. I'm sure he's got plenty of orchids, but it was nice. It was a good excuse to meet up with him. Today's going to be a bit of a short video. I've got a slug problem in the greenhouse. I went in there last night and noticed that some of my other plants that aren't orchids, all carnivorous plants, were being fed upon. So I need to do a little bit of research in how best to go about getting rid of those guys. I think there's a little gap around the sill most of the way around the greenhouse where obviously I laid the concrete, so it's not exactly perfect, but there's a little void around there, and I think some of them are coming in through there, so I'm going to get some Sikaflex, seal that up, and then I'm looking at some sort of slug control. I think there's some stuff that uses like nematodes and stuff, which is organic and it doesn't harm the plants and stuff, so I'm going to look at some of that. Just for the soil, it's like a gravel base in there, so it's geomembrane on top of soil, which is levelled with gravel over the top of it, so I'm going to saturate the soil with some of that stuff. And maybe resort to some slug pellets. So basically for this video I've got a Neolauchea, a miniature orchid, which is looking very sad at the moment. It was in the house before the move, and so spent some time on some windowsills, basically hating its life, and I think the mix has gone sour, so this video is basically going to be looking at that. I'm going to repot that. I've managed to dig out, I've got another one of those very old orchid baskets. I don't even know, I think I got them at a car boot sale ages ago, but I've got one of those, so I'm going to pop that up. I've also bought some new clips for the roof inside the greenhouse, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to put some of those on, and how I suspend the basket using some fishing line and some swivels. So that's what the video is going to be based on today. Okay, so welcome back. I've got the camera in a new position, so hopefully you'll be able to see a bit better about what I'm doing here, or not doing very well here. So you're going to see my Neolauchea, my miniature orchid, how poorly it's doing, and how I'm going to repot it. So, with further ado, okay, right. So this is my Neolauchea pulchella, little miniature orchid. I've had this orchid for quite a long time. It was growing in the old conservatory, the old grow space. There's the tag. You probably can't read my horrendous writing. And it was in the house, and it basically had a horrible time. It got a bit hot, it wasn't humid enough, and it's like basically an orchid sob story. It's down to, there's only 4 pseudobulbs here. One of the pseudobulbs has completely lost its leaf. This leaf here is on its way out. There's some old flower spikes here. It's got a nice big plump pseudobulb on the end here. And this one here is nice and inflated, although this leaf is very small. There's some new growth coming out at the end of it. So what I was going to do is repot this, get rid of this old sour medium because it's well overdue for a repot. That's basically the trouble of the situation I've been in. Until I've had the greenhouse, I haven't really had an opportunity to do anything. So now it's just a case of going through the process of repotting everything and getting everything up to scratch. So I have great hopes for this. I think it will be okay. Like I say, the new growth looks really happy. The leaf seems to be growing growing happily, and we've got some new growth. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a few bits and pieces. I'm going to be potting it up into this orchid basket. This has been in the greenhouse for a little while. Looks a little bit worn in places, but to hold that little, there's not going to really be any weight to it. So it's going to go into that. I've got a standard orchid mix. I'm going to use some sphagnum moss to line the net pot or the basket, just to stop this medium from falling out, and I'm using a mixture of fine grade perlite and fine orchid bark. Empty pot to put the rubbish in, S-hook for hanging, And I bought some new clips for the roof of the greenhouse. These crop head bolts, or cropped bolts. They've got like a, so they slot straight into the little aluminium gantries on the roof of the greenhouse, and they've got like a split ring like for your keys that hangs off the end of it. They just pop up in, do them up tight, and then I'm starting to affix a lot of my orchids which I can hang off the roof. So we'll have a look at that. I'm going to suspend this guy using some fishing line off of each corner and up to a swivel, and then hang it off the S-hook, which in turn will be attached to one of these on the roof. So without further ado, let's go on and get this guy out, because he's so unhappy. This possum medium is like, it's just absolutely hideous. So I don't even know what we're going to see in here. I don't know how far the roots have, I doubt the roots have gone anywhere in it. I expect it's all very shallow. It's just so manky. Oh. No, there's still no roots there. What I'll probably do is take him outside in a minute and leave you guys for a second and just go and wash him off to get the worst of this off of him. There's like hardly any roots on this guy at all. It's even worse than I thought it was going to be. This channel should really be a lesson how not to cultivate orchids. Right, let's take that off of there. Right, I'm going to leave you for just a couple of seconds and I'm going to go away and rinse this off. Okay, so not much left really. Very sad looking orchid with some nice healthy roots coming from the plumpest of the two pseudobulbs. That one there is completely dead and there's very little to it, to be honest. It looks a little bit sad. Don't know if she's going to pull through. I hope so. This gives me hope. I mean, if it can survive from just two pseudobulbs, then we're in with a chance, but surely some fresh media is going to do it the world of good. So we'll pop him down there. Get the basket out. And the sphagnum moss. And just literally lay this in the bottom of the pot. It's just, I'm not going to mill it up, it's just, I need it long thick strands like this, just so that it stops all the media, all the fine grade orchid bark from disappearing through the slats. In the past I've used coir mats for this. It works really well. It still allows lots of drainage, but it just stops it all dropping out the bottom. So I'll get on and do this. I find the slug problem in the greenhouse really disheartening. Apart from going out there every single night in the darkness with a torch to find the little critters, it weighs on my mind quite heavily. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about that really. Like I said before, or at the beginning of the video, the first move is going to be to seal the bottom of the greenhouse thoroughly. It's weird, like where I was growing when I was living in the New Forest, you think, you know, with a thick humus layer, that it would be rife for snails and slugs, but nothing like here at all. It's ridiculous. And wood lice as well. What is it about Wiltshire for basically insects? It's like nothing I've ever come across before. So back to the bottom. What I'm doing is I'm just filling up the sides here as well, just so we've got these gaps here are covered, so we're not going to lose media through there. I mean, this isn't the finite way of doing this. I'm sure there are much better ways of potting an orchid up into one of these baskets, but this is all that I have to hand at the moment, and it's what I'm going to use. It's a really pretty little orchid. It produces these little purple flowers which emerge from the tops of next to the leaf, at the top of the pseudobulb. They're tiny. They're about the size of my little fingernail, but they're really pretty. It's a very sweet little orchid. And because it's been with me for such a long time, it would be a real shame to lose it. I think it came from Burnham Nurseries originally, years and years ago. I must have had it for 6 or 7 years, and I swear to God, it's just through mistreatment, it's just been looking sadder and sadder. Got to get a little bit more sphagnum moss just to finish up around the corner. I'm just using bog standard sphagnum moss you can get from any garden centre. I haven't got, it's not New Zealand or Peruvian or anything like that. It's just standard sphagnum moss. At the end of the day, sphagnum moss is sphagnum moss. This hasn't got to be alive. I don't want it to grow. All it's got to do is be slow at breaking down, which it is naturally. Hopefully pest free. I haven't seen any pests associated with this sphagnum moss, and just hold the potting media in. Right, so now that's done, all I'm going to do is basically fill the void, or fill at least part of the basket with the potting media. It's all dry, so it goes in and fills the cracks up really nicely. I haven't got to worry about it sticking to me and hanging on all over the place. A bit of a mix up like this. There we go. So it's quite a loose mix, but it's very humid in the greenhouse. I figure over potting this or a mixture that's too moisture retentive is going to be detrimental to the potential success or survival of this orchid. So what I'm going to do is just gently place some of the potting media around the orchid roots. A little bit of sphagnum moss just to hold them in place there, and just continue to fill that in and around. Don't worry, I'm not going to bury it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to firm the potting media in and around the greenhouse, around the orchid, and just give them a little tug upwards like this. I'm sure it's going to benefit heavily for some fresh potting media. Just being careful not to bury it too far. And then I'll give this a good soaking with some rainwater in a bit to get the media nice and wet. And then I'll go and hang him up in the greenhouse, and we'll have a look at him in a bit, maybe in another video, depending on how successful this potting up is. So I just want to make sure the pseudobulbs are exposed. They have chlorophyll in them as well to a degree, although they don't necessarily carry out the primary process of photosynthesis. They still got to have some light to them to stop them from going bad or perhaps dying. And that's him pretty much done. I suppose you can even see him there. He's just popped up in there. All the new roots are under the ground, under the new media, and the new growth which is coming out of the shiniest and smallest pseudobulb is uncovered as well. So what we'll do next is we'll get some fishing line out and a swivel and string the basket up. Okay, so here we have it. All I've done is I've gone around and put, using the fishing line, I've put a blood knot on each end. If you don't know how to tie that knot, check out, there's some instructionals you can find on Google how to tie that. It just zips it up nice and tight and grips these old copper wire fixing points. And then all I've done is pass, because tying each one of these lines onto this swivel would be a nightmare trying to get this thing to sit level. So I just pass all 4 strands through the eye of the swivel and just do 2 figure-of-8 knots on each other, and then it always picks up nice and level like that. So that's ready now to go back in the greenhouse. I'll go and give it a good watering. Stick this guy up on the roof with an S-hook so it can hang in position, and keep it moist and keep an eye on it, and hopefully everything will be okay. So if you like this video, please tune in again. Don't forget to like and subscribe.